Hey, everybody, it is Paul, Dr. Nacho. We are here to talk about failure prevention tips for my first associateship. I have some special guests who you're going to get to meet in just a minute. But while we're waiting to meet these special guests, I want to share with you a 6-minute video that I created that goes over the 4 most important decisions a dentist will make in his or her life. The 4 most important decisions a dentist will make in his or her life. When that is over, I'm going to interview 2 awesome key resources and sponsors that can help protect you, prepare you, and aware you on the journey to being a successful associate, successful practice owner hiring an associate. Please share in the chat any questions that you have as we have people roll in here. So we're going to start off with this video. It was captioned by the awesome Mrs. Nacho. She knows how to caption videos, so you can read it or listen. And I would love for you guys to share one thing that stood out to you from this video that you didn't know before, or that would reinforce something that you did know. So we'll be back in 6 minutes after this video to interview 2 awesome special guests. Imagine making a $30,000 mistake when buying a dental practice. Imagine not knowing what questions to ask or how to build a team when making the most important decision of your dental life. My name is Dr. Paul Goodman, Dr. Nacho, and I don't have to imagine that because I made those mistakes in 2011. I didn't know what questions to ask when buying a dental practice. I didn't know working with a dual representation broker is nacho nuts. A dual representation broker claims to be able to represent your interest and the interest of the selling dentist at the same time. So if you only listen to this much, just know that working with a dual representation broker can burn your nachos in making the most important decision of your dental life. My goal as Dr. Paul Goodman, Dr. Nacho, is to help you with the 4 most important decisions you will make in your entire dentisting career, or what I call the circle of dentisting life. Finding your first job, buying your first practice, hiring your first associate, and selling your only practice. Dental school teaches us a lot about the Krebs cycle and how to make a mediocre bite rim, but not enough about our dentisting core. What is our dentisting core? The decisions we make with our mind, the words we say, which are ultra important, our clinical skills, and at the center of it all, our heart, who we look to help, and the impact we look to make. Making mistakes in the 4 biggest decisions of your dentisting career can cause so many problems. And I want to give you actionable takeaways in each one of those steps. So let's talk about finding your first job. What is some common mistake dentists make is starting too late. Finding your first job should start day 1 of D1, not applying for that job, finding it. ABC, always be connecting. Meeting people in industry who can help. Who are these people if you're a dental student? Who should you reach out to? Go to in-person CE events. Sit next to dentists that look older than you and meet them. They may not be looking for an associate, but they may have a friend who's also looking. When you go to sign an associate contract, do not sign one without having a dental-focused attorney review it. As Dr. Nacho, founder of a 30,000 member plus Facebook group, I get poignant messages daily from dental associates who did not have anyone review their contract and now they have a problem. Problem getting paid, problem with their restrictive covenant. So get a dental-focused attorney to review your contract. Nothing bad happens. Either the dental-focused attorney says, hey, this contract looks pretty good, let's ask for a few things here, but if we don't get these things, it's still a good contract. Or they say, there's 14 red flags and I haven't gotten to page 2 of that contract. So that's finding your first job, buying your first practice. The mistake I made was with us buying a second practice, but we overpaid by at least $30,000. And here's why. Cash flow is so important. So this $300,000 practice was only profiting $100,000. So another actionable takeaway. A good way to value a practice is 2 times the net profit, 1.5 to 2 times the net profit, not just 70% of collections. So this broker valued it at $215,000 and we just paid it. There were no Facebook groups, there were no podcasts, we didn't have information on this. We just paid the asking price. And I know that we could have paid at least $30,000 less, because it was a practice that was in distress. So if you're buying a practice that's in distress, the owner is sick, they have to sell quickly. That is an unfortunate life circumstance for the selling dentist. But you as the buyer, that practice doesn't have the same value as one where the owner might be able to stay on afterwards. So buying your first dental practice is so important. As someone who helps dentists sell their dental practices, I meet dentists at the end of their career, and they have often had multiple houses, sometimes multiple spouses, but just one dental practice. So what does that mean? That one dental practice will stick with you through your career. The third thing, hiring your first associate. When to know, do you need an associate? Let me tell you the story of my best friend, Todd. Todd didn't know if he needed an associate, but he knew he was very stressed. He was super successful, amazing fee-for-service practice in Center City, Philadelphia, a fantastic dentist and an even better person, but he didn't know how to find an associate and how to incorporate that associate into his practice. I just met with him recently. He hired this associate 2 years ago, said it was the best decision of his dental career. So what are the 5 questions you need to ask and be able to answer when hiring an associate? Why am I looking for an associate? Where is the position? How will the associate be compensated? Dental school debt's a lot different from even when I went. So these young dentists have to be compensated enough to pay their debt, pay their rent, pay their food, things like that. Learn things. So how, what, where, when, why? Those are the 5 questions. Where is the job? Why do you need an associate? How will they be compensated? What procedures will the associate do most of the time? And also, what fun things are there to do in the area? Because there's more to life than just dentisting. And as we wrap up, selling your only practice. It's such a key point in the career of a dentist. Sell your practice and hang up the handpiece. There should be some ceremony where you hang up the handpiece and ride off into the sunset. But you can't do that unless you sell this practice, which is a very complex transaction. Not only do you need a person, you need a person who is a dentist, licensed in that state, wanting to live in that area and be able to get financing for your practice. So one of my best pieces of advice, start early. Connect with brokers, ask good questions, connect with accountants, build your team. I'm a huge fan of basketball. My dream was to play in the NBA. That dream didn't come true. But who would be on this starting 5? A dental-focused attorney, a dental-focused accountant, a financial coach, a confidant, a personal confidant that you can ask questions to, a bank along the way too. So these are people that you want to put on your practice transition team and meet them early. Developing relationships is key. So it all goes back to developing this dental focused core, this dental core of your mind, your words, your hand skills. At Dental Nachos, what we do is we want to help you make good dental life decisions. Help learn from mistakes that other dentists have made, like me, when I didn't have information on how to value a practice, how to work with brokers, and how to navigate this sometimes nacho nuts dentisting business world. I love helping dentists. Our goal is to connect us more together with these ABCs. Always be connecting, always be caring. No one really likes going to the dentist, so we may as well like each other. I think this is a special time for us all to bond together. And I want to be part of the solution in making that happen.
Okay, I'm going to bring up one of my first special guests. We have from Ladd and Duckett, dental focused accountant. You can start your video. Do we need to allow Natalie can help our team start video? Let's see, start video. Let's see here. You can make sure everyone can start video. So a full team approach to adding. There he is, Bill Ladd. While we bring him up, we have a fun game to play. Okay, you guys can play fun games. So text in your favorite topping on these nachos. Bill does not have to while he's talking. Text in, or I know you're a dentist, so you can't be constrained by these choices. Where is gluten-free queso? So we text in, Natalie. You have to text in since you're here with me because I make sure this poll works. But we're talking here, Bill. Share with us, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? We're talking, this is not usual poll, Bill. I'm not positive today. I want to talk about failures. It's Friday failures. If you're not watching on a Friday channel, I want to talk about why failures happen. Because I know my people, Bill. If I say, let's all talk about how to be successful, boring. Let's talk about how to prevent failures. I'm a dentist. Now I'm on. So tell us what you do. And we're talking about adding your first associate to a practice. Where do you see some failures occur, whether it's planning or implementation? The floor is yours to share.
I love it. Thank you, Paul. Good to see you, my friend. I see my buddy Jim's down there too. So looking forward to hearing him. Hey, if you're not failing, you're not trying anything, right? You're not in the ring. So what's the point? You know, you're kind of just coasting by and trying to be safe. And sometimes you got to swing. You got to swing for the fences, and sometimes you miss. So, at Duckett Ladd, we are a dental-focused CPA firm that sees, an entrepreneur, a dental entrepreneur, as being on a journey. You have your cycle, which I love. Ours kind of fits into there. We see it kind of broken up into 6 phases. And that's kind of, phase 1's where you think you might want to practice. Phase 2 is where you try to figure out what kind of practice you want. Phase 3 is when you actually have a practice you're looking at. This is kind of buying your first practice. Phase 4 is I now have a practice. What the hell do I do? I don't know anything about it, and that could be part of where where the associate comes in. Phase 5 is where I've got a pretty good idea what I'm doing. I just need to maximize and optimize my practice. And this is probably where you see most of these associate questions come in. And phase 6 is where you exit and you kind of move on to your next.
Bill, tell me a little bit, what are some of the motivation you see in your clients when they want to add an associate? They're a practice owner and hopefully they're working with you. You saw in my video there,
yep,
that A team with the accountants and the attorneys. What is some of their motivation? I mean, do some even ask you who listen to you guys say, hey, I want to add an associate. How's this going to impact my revenue?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the way you said it with your friend Todd, I think you said, Todd, it's exactly what most of them come is they don't know why they want to. They just want to. And maybe it's because they're busy. Maybe it's because they feel like, there's pent up demand. I don't know. But, the way we kind of look at it, Paul, is that in our minds, there's 3 major reasons that you should start to look for an associate. And one of them is growth. One of them is a succession plan, or one of them is actually creating access to expertise that you don't have that can generate additional revenue streams. So I think most of them are busy. And so, they come in and they say, I'm going to hire an associate. Well, here kind of gets to the failure is they go out and they find any associate they can. They don't care whether they match up to their core values, whether they're jerks that the patients are going to hate and your team members are going to hate and leave in droves. I mean, it's just, let's get somebody in here because I'm busy and I'm tired and I want to step away from the chair.
I also want to share. I'm here sharing this course with everybody. It's free. I asked everybody to vote on this poll, and the only person who voted was me. So I'm going to turn this C course right. That's not a C course. Turn this course right around. Please vote in my poll. I want to see if it works. I got my team members here who work with me, so please vote. Now you are required to vote in this poll. You text Paul Goodman 677 to 22333 because we're going to talk about some others in a second. But somebody else, Natalie, let's see your vote come up here. Jill is available. She can too, or if you're watching. So how the right fit is so important, Bill, you talk about this because I don't think people understand the risk of sharing your patients with another provider.
Sure.
Carefully curated. We help people find right fits, but where do you think there's an opportunity for dentistry to do better? And I mean, how you guys aren't going to start prepping teeth, but you help a lot with cash flow. Are there any cash flow metrics or just even checklists or thoughts a practice could be looking at when they're thinking about adding an associate? Because I share, Bill, most of the time your income initially goes down, which is okay, but it can go up again. What are some things they might be thinking about on a dental focused accounting side?
Yeah, I think that's probably not necessarily unrealistic. It's not ideal, but it can't be forever unless you're willing to step back, unless this is purely a play to create more time for you and you're willing to do that. What we tend to find as far as failures in this is that there's really not an analysis of what it's going to do to cash flow. We kind of have a process we walk through with our clients called an upside down budget, where you actually try to understand what am I going to make and what is the associate going to make? And it will kind of automatically tell you when's the right time financially to bring on an associate. And to be honest, Paul, most people bring it on well before they're ready financially. And guess what? In CPA firm, we've done the same thing. A firm I was with, we were chronic about this because we were nice guys and we wanted to bring everybody in the fold and lock them down. But financially, we weren't ready. So what happened was that we all made money or kind of stunted our ability. And that associate, or in our case, it's a partner, came in and guess what? They weren't making as much money as they were previously. So that's kind of a characteristic is that for an associate to want to come to you, he really needs to be making at least kind of what, he would expect to make. And if he's another associate somewhere else, he needs to at least be, see an upside to come over and join you. And sometimes that does mean you have to sacrifice.
Bill, just for awareness of the modern day stuff. So all of us are going to get in this role of our parents when we went to buy clothes at the mall and they said, I can't believe jeans are now $80. And your dad goes, last time I bought jeans was 30 years ago. So if you just take some general thoughts, and a full-time associate being compensated $130,000 a year means you're likely going to have to push maybe $450,000 or $500,000 of production to this associate. And one of the things that I'll share, which is the hardest for solo GPs, Bill, is you have to be in this hybrid mode, because if you work so much until you need one, you're going to be too stressed. And if you do it too early, your money's going to go down too much. So when people work with you guys, let's say someone's listening to this now or in the future, they're voting. Thank you for voting some people on my polls here. I really appreciate it. Schitt's Creek is a wonderful show. So what are some things that you guys do to get them ready in this stage? Like, let's say we talk about pre-procedure checklist. What are some pre-associate checklist things people could think about before they add one?
Yeah. So the first thing we do, which is really not necessarily financial, but is super important, is we kind of walk them through those questions that you ask. Why do you want to hire one? And what does this person look like? What are their characteristics? Do they fit into the culture? Are they going to be good? We kind of look at that they really need to have at least 4 skill sets, which are adaptability, flexibility, accessibility, and being innovative and being willing to try new things. Do they meet those criteria? And if we it's a slam dunk, they're right. Then we move on to the next phase is, okay, let's run some tape. Let's figure out what this hire for. Is it for growth? Okay, then great. We're going to have to come up with some assumptions, because you're right. Let's say we move 450 off of production that was trickling to you on the bottom line. Are you okay with that?
Right.
Or is there growth that's coming that will allow you to say, I'm willing to sacrifice short term to have a little bit better lifestyle and a little bit less off of me, but knowing long term it's going to help.
We can't use the nacho analogy here, because here's how you eat nachos. When they come to the table, you take some utensil like a bulldozer and you push them onto your plate, right? But what's easy to divide? Pizza. So I use this as pizza production. So if you have 8 slices and you have a 9th slice that you're eating, when you bring on an associate, you can't just give them 1 slice to survive. They need more than that. So that's why I think it's so key what you're talking about. And I think wrapping your arms around the metrics of your practice, because I'll share authentically. Sometimes I have no idea how much money we're making or not in the practice. And people say, how do you know that? Because I'm so busy being in the practice that I need my dental focus accountant and my bookkeeper sometimes say, step on the scale. I mean, people will hear that, Bill, and say, I can't believe that. Do you know how much you weigh every day? Probably not, until you step on the scale and see. And sometimes it's more or less than you think. So you probably, I can tell, A is your favorite letter because you're an accountant. Accessibility, affability, awareness. As we get ready for Jim to jump on, if you were just to say to this group watching now as practice owners, what would you be talking with them about? How can they reach out to you? Your awesome key resources and sponsors. And what would this first conversation look like about adding an associate to their practice?
Yeah, and I appreciate this, because we've actually had this come up several times recently. I think people are thinking about not just associateships, but we're actually talking to people about bringing on a partner, which is even a whole new dynamic. I think you're partners with your brother. So, it's just a different beast. And so we're talking through a lot of people with these conversations right now. If those are speaking to you, then you can reach out to us. Our website is obviously a dental focus. As a dental focus CPA firms, it tries to put forth the message of what we can do for you and how we can help you.
What's the best website for you guys, Bill?
It's just ducketlad.com. Awesome. It's that simple. And there's a work together page. You can give us a little bit of information that gets you into our cycle. Then we'll hop on a Zoom call, try to understand if it makes sense for us to work together. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But we're always happy to visit with dentists and try to help them as they're kind of working through the journey, and whatever phase they're in. That's kind of the goal. So check us out there. We have a YouTube channel. We're putting content out. And then we have our podcast, the Dental Momentum podcast. If they can check us out there, that'd be great.
Rated as the top guest in your podcast by my Aunt Bill. It's nice of her to write it.
Right. The most enjoyable for sure. We'll have to do it again.
And I like to make jokes with meetings. And, this one I have here where dental school lectures on how to find a job after graduation, it's a big problem. I mean, you're charging your customers, dental students are customers, you have customers, I have customers, and what value is being delivered on how to pay back those loans. And, this trickles into the entire circle of dental life, because if you're a practice owner thinking, I'm so glad I didn't spend $600,000 for school, you're hiring someone who has this. And, many people, I'll just be authentic, Bill, I'll share. I've sometimes felt fat, right? Or I felt out of shape, where maybe a trainer would say, you're not out of shape, Paul, this is how you are. But that's how I feel emotionally. So these young dentists that have this debt, it's not always just, and I'm talking to the right person, it's not always just what goes on into the calculator. It's also how you feel about it.
No doubt. And here's the thing too, is keep in mind, when you're coming out of school with that kind of debt, your mindset's very different as far as security. Right. And they may look at a private practice and say, is this as secure as this big corporate or DSO over here that guarantees me this?
Right.
Maybe not. And again, that's where you have to find that right mindset of somebody who probably ultimately doesn't want to settle to be an associate. They would like to be an owner at some point, which kind of leads into whole new challenges, but also new fantastic opportunities. So I think it narrows the pool down even more to the people you can be looking at for associates in your private practice. And that's why you have to have the right culture. You have to have that environment where they come in and they're like, I love this place. Right. I don't want to look anywhere else. I'm stopping my search right here. And it can be done. It's not impossible.
Like sports, you create the right environment for the right time. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years. So I'm going to bring up your friend, the awesome Jim. Thanks, Bill. You can hang around and watch in the background, but I really appreciate you being here with us. To work with Bill, just text CPA to 215-543-6454. Have a good conversation, ask good questions, and you'll help yourself in your journey. I really appreciate it, Bill.
All right. Appreciate it. Good to see you, Jim.
Bye, Bill. Bye, Bill.
Now our next guest is the awesome Jim Katchmer from Doctors Disability Specialist, a key resource and sponsor of the group. And they talk about protecting your biggest asset, you. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, but they're also talking to dentists all the time. So Jim, you watched my video and you've been listening. What's something from the first 15 minutes of this that stood out to you and said, you know what, I should tell more of my dental clients about it, or that really resonated, or maybe I didn't even think about that?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head when you said the value of a practice goes down if a dentist becomes disabled and they can't be at the practice and they're selling because of that. And there are ways to address that in advance. And I'm happy to talk about those today if you want.
So I want to talk about, even though, I totally get this. If I go to the gym and they have HIIT class for get your heart rate up and jump around and do metrics, that's exciting. If they say over here, we're going to talk about stretching and nutrition, I'm like, boring, but that's actually more important. So let's talk about something that might not be exciting, but is so core to protecting yourself. Just the circle of disability insurance life. Let's start actually with a practice owner for a second, right?
Okay.
So let's say someone's been a practice owner for 10 years. They're thinking of adding an associate. They're trying to get their whole things in order. They talk to someone like Bill, they talk to Rob Montgomery, they talk to you. What are some failures of a practice owner's disability policy? Have they not looked at it in long enough years? Is it not keeping up their income? What are some things you guys see?
Sure, absolutely. So on the personal side, individual disability insurance, if they met with someone right out of dental school and they did an early $3,500, $4,000 monthly benefit, and they never looked at it again, they're likely underinsured. So that's one of them. Another one is contract language. Some policies are less equal than others. That's a little animal farm here for you. So it's important to have someone who understands language of contracts, read over it and make sure it's doing what you want it to. Then there's also the sense of, will it actually protect your practice as well? But on the individual side, those are the things.
So basically it's prudent for someone along their journey to connect with you to see. I mean, dentists are interesting. We have people bring their mouth in when everybody feels fine, their mouth feels fine, but we say, hey, Jim, you didn't notice this tooth was broken, there was a problem. Or sometimes we say, you look great, right? Nothing bad happens. So are you and Tyler able to kind of do a deep dive into existing policies and give feedback?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We call it a policy audit and we do it for free. We'll read through your contract, see what it says, see what it would do for you if you get hurt or sick. And we give you our best unfettered advice. And sometimes it is, you're great, do nothing, you're in great shape.
Awesome. I like that. How would people reach out to you guys? To what website should they go to, or what is the best contact for you guys?
I've got a couple just emails. James.cashmar@ddsteam.net or Tyler.DeStefano@ddsteam.net.
Awesome. You can text DDS to 215-543-6454. Now, let's spend our last few minutes, Jim, doing over this. You're a newish dentist, you're graduating, GPR, new, maybe, I want to share an authentic story that, just there's a dentist who did a GPR who became disabled and never got disability insurance, is now looking for a job outside of dentistry. It's a real story from a real person I'm trying to help currently, right? Currently. So there's some fear, responsible concern, failures that are important. So let's talk about early in your career and just walk us through, if they're listening, if you're a D4, if you're a GPR AGD grad, or you're a new dentist that somehow missed all of this, what should they be doing right now?
Well, I mean, if they're insurable, it sounds like if there's a healthy practicing dentist or dental student.
Let's go with they're insurable and they just haven't applied for anything yet.
Then they just should reach out, send an email or reach out to that text you just gave. And we're happy to do a consultation with you. And we're all about education. We definitely will share our screen. We'll go through some key terms. We'll explain how policies and contracts work. We make it brief, not too boring. And then, you drive the bus. So you decide what's next. But we can definitely help at this point. It's never too late.
Yeah, I mean, I always say you could use this line, because I say this to patients a lot, Jim, when they say, I got so much stuff, I got blah, blah. I say, hey, I just want to let you know, Jim, your dental care is never less pain, less money, less annoying than it is today. So you could probably, the fit for you, you're never less, it's never going to be less hassle to do it today, because things happen to people's medical history. And I just think this isn't talked about enough. And I really appreciate you you guys somehow make disability insurance kind of fun. So that's pretty magical that you and Tyler do that. So reach out to Jim and Tyler. They're amazing sponsors, amazing people. You can text DDS at 215-543-6454 or james.cashmar@ddsteam.net. We'll put that in the chat. Well, thanks, Jim. You're welcome to hang around. If you got calls, you can do that, but really appreciate you guys jumping on.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so you heard from two awesome advisors. Now we're going to spend some time, and I'd love for people in the chat who are here to share with us. We're going to spend some time going over how to prevent failures and why an EP is so VIP. So does anyone know what an EP is? An EP is an empowerment promise. So whether you're talking to a patient, whether you're talking to your 5-year-old, whether you're talking to your team or talking to you, what are you going to do? And I'm going to share why too many associate relationships fail and how you can prevent that from happening to you. So whether you're getting into one, whether you're hiring one, whether you're somewhere in between, I'm going to share with you why associate positions fail and how you can prevent that from happening to you. So if you're here for a minute, I'm going to stop my video for a second. I would love for you to take 30 seconds and just vote. What is a common reason associate relationship hippos, I will change my spelling there. That was just to make sure you guys are paying attention, why they fail. So just go to your phone and text Paul Goodman 677 to 22333, and you can vote. I'll give us 30 or 45 seconds to vote here, and I'll share some of these reasons while we're voting. Okay, so what are some of the common reasons associate relationships fail? The number one reason, mismanaged expectations. Mismanaged expectations. These are all things that can happen. The practice is losing money on the associate. Associate's not making enough money. I hope you're not fighting over the philosophy of occlusion. That seems dramatic. You can just get some Keurigs to deal with the coffee. But mismanaged expectations. So managing expectations is so key to this process. And I'm Paul, and I'm here to help. What do? I'm a failed NBA superstar, husband and dad, dentist, multiple circus, practice owner, founder of Dental Nachos, founder of Dentist Job Connect. Jill's on here with us, who's the director of Dentist Job Connect, but also a human being just like you, trying to figure this whole life thing out, which is not easy. But if we just add small things into our life to decrease hassle, one less hassle, we can be successful. And adding an associate to your practice is one of the biggest decisions you're going to make in your entire dental career. And I want to set you up for success. Everything that matters needs a system, and everything matters. So let's take a look. So this is my favorite line from my favorite movie, Philadelphia. So listen to this. Every time you talk to someone, this is what you should be doing. And I'm going to do this for you.
I remember the professor saying there are 4 components to public speaking. The first thing is open up with a story. The second thing is tell your audience what it is they're going to learn and where they're going. People want to know where they're going. The third thing is deliver on that promise. And the fourth thing is leave them with immediate actionable takeaways.
So, bet you don't know who that guy is, but raise your hand if you're here in the chat and you ever heard of the material Spanx. Anyone heard of Spanx? Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Spanx. That is the husband of Sarah Blakely. He's an entrepreneur himself. Love following him on TikTok. He's an awesome. So simple strategies for success. My favorite line from Philadelphia, explain it to me like I am a 4-year-old. That's what Denzel said. I love it. So we're going to talk about the story of Mad Millie, thinking why you want to hire an associate, how to find an associate, what to ask on an associate interview, systems to onboard, and strategies for long-term success. I want to deliver on that promise. I'm going to give you actionable takeaways right now. So if you turn this off, never listen again, just listen to this 60 seconds. The most important question to ask or answer and know when you have an associate: is the position a car or boat? Is my associate position a need or a want? A need or a want? Do I need someone there to do dentistry I physically cannot do? Or do I want someone there to relieve stress? Both of them are okay. One of them is going to cost you a lot more, a boat position. One of them, so there are too many times someone applying for a job says, we need you, when they really just want you. And you have to figure that out. So what's one actionable takeaway that I can give you? So first, is it a car or boat? Need or want the position? So if you're thinking, why do I want an associate? Do you have a boat or car position? Now you're thinking, I don't even know how to figure that out. Well, here's some ways to figure it out. I'm your patient, Paul Goodman. I need a crown, number 30 broke from stale nachos. When can I schedule for that crown in your schedule? So if there's any practice owners here and want to put in the chat, and I'll share mine in a minute. I own a practice. Number 30 breaks. A simple crown is needed. I come up to the front desk and say, hi, I would like to schedule a crown with the owner of this office, who's a solo GP. When can I get into your office? When can I get into your office to schedule that crown? Share that in the chat. When can I get into the office? Or just, put that in. When can I get in? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 6 weeks. So some of my story-based determination, there's no studies on this, is 6 weeks or more. 6 weeks or more. If I can get in 2 weeks, you likely don't need an associate. You might want one, you don't need one. So when there's fundamental procedures like fillings and crowns, and those patients getting into the schedule within 6 weeks, it's unlikely that you need an associate. You may want one. I want a lot of things. I like to dunk. I want to dunk. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen. But you as a practice owner need to start thinking about, how far booked out am I? How far out could I say to a patient, you know what? You can't see me for 6 weeks, but we have a new associate, Dr. Natalie, and she is available to take care of your broken tooth in 2 weeks, in 1 week. Now, raise your hand if you're worried the patient doesn't want to see the new associate. Patient doesn't want to see a new associate. Raise your hand. Are you worried the patient does not want to see the new associate? So yeah, common problem. They don't, that's normal. You would feel the same way. So people don't argue with their own decisions. So what you can say is, hey, patient, if you would like to wait 6 weeks, I would be glad to see you. But this is the magic phrase. This is it. As the practice owner, listen. I love speaking. So you notice how I talk. I say, listen, like we say this for our kids. It's important. I'm the practice owner. Okay. I'm looking at the patient, Bob Guac. I'm looking at Millie, because I'm gonna tell you why Millie's mad here in a second. Hey, Millie, this tooth in the bottom right is broken. I can help you in 6 weeks, but we have an awesome dentist here. Don't say new, awesome dentist here. That's being added to our practice to help patients just like you. We don't want this to get worse. So what I would like to share with you is, I would be glad for Dr. Natalie to do this crown on me. You got to say that. So you got to believe it. You can't lie. So whether you interview Dr. Natalie, whether you talk with her, whether you're just type person, so you have to say the magic words is, I would be glad for Dr. Natalie to do this on me. That shows confidence and trust in your associate. So that one of the things I'll share with actionable takeaways is make sure the circle of procedures are ones the associate is comfortable doing. A single posterior crown, direct restorations, a night guard. If you do procedures that are too tough for the new Dr. Natalie, that's going to be tough on her. So if it's a second molar root canal, refer that to the endodontist. So that is what you want to say. So what if your patient Millie says, I never want to see Dr. Salsa again? So Millie says, I never want to see Dr. Salsa again. Millie, the patient, said this. So Millie, the patient, is mad. Dr. Salsa, the associate, is upset. Ariel, the hygienist, is confused. Kate, the office manager, is texting you, Dr. Guac, on vacation. Dr. Guac, the practice owner, feels like crying inside. What has happened? So here's what's happened. Millie, a patient of the practice for 30 years, went to a hygiene exam. And number 19 had a small chip filling. And Dr. Salsa, the associate, shared with Millie that a crown would benefit this tooth. Don't say need, say would benefit. And Millie freaked out because Millie's tooth has an A, B, C, D, E, F, G surface filling. There's surfaces that you filled on Millie's tooth that didn't even exist. So you have done, as Pasquale Venuti would say, patchology on this tooth, and Millie's never gotten a crown. But Dr. Salsa, the new associate, she's just trying to be a good dentist. And she says to Millie, hey, this would benefit from a crown. And Millie's upset. This has happened to me. This has happened with patients from other offices that we bought. The other dentist just filled it. But I say sometimes I can't fill air. So what happened? Who's responsible? When I say whose fault is it that this happened? It's so dramatic, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, great book. It's your fault, Dr. Guac. It's your responsibility. So managing expectations is so key. It would be you did not manage expectations. You did not set your associate, Dr. Salsa, up for success by saying when Millie comes in on her hygiene exam, do a great job, write down all the concerns. Millie has said no to crowns since 1972, and you were born, Dr. Salsa, in 1990. What would be best if you see a concern, and we do this in our practice, is say, hey, Millie, share the concern, be honest. This tooth is chipped. What I'm going to do is I'm going to review this with Dr. Guac, and we're going to make a good plan. So remember, first takeaway tip, say as the practice owner, I would be happy to have the associate, Dr. Salsa, do a crown on me. Second thing, for associates and practice owners, when you have a patient, and the hygienist should help here too, that might be a tough customer. Say things like, I see that this tooth is missing part of it on the outside, right? Not broken buccal cusp, new associates. No one knows what that means. Missing part on the outside. I'm going to talk with Dr. Guac when he gets back from vacation, and we're going to make a good plan for that tooth. Then Millie doesn't freak out. Millie doesn't cry, and you get a chance to talk with Dr. Guac. It's better to not say too much than to say, oh, you need a whole new crown here. Maybe Dr. Guac did it last month. These things happen. So managing expectations of everyone involved is so important. So this story is the story of the entire show. How do you manage expectations of all the people in the room, the associate, the assistant, everybody who's going to be seeing this patient? So what I'd like to stop and ask you is, what can you do as a team? Okay, because we're talking about team, front desk, assistants, is if you see something, say something, like say at the airport. So when you go through the schedule in the morning, associates, don't show up 1 minute before your patient. Hopefully there is a morning huddle in the morning, but even if there's not, have your own morning huddle, another great takeaway, with your assistant. And say to your assistant and front desk, hey, these are all my patients for the day. Is there anyone who I should be aware has a challenging personality? That's a good way to put it. Is there anyone here that's been in the practice for a while that might, not want to do scaling and root planing? Because I don't want to jump in and say this. And I'm not telling you not to diagnose. I'm not telling you not to treatment plan. What I'm doing is talk to patients like people, and magic will happen. So you can always review a concern without giving the solution in that moment. And if you're working in a practice with a practice owner, there's an opportunity for you to do a timeout, talk with the practice owner. Maybe you both call the patient, because it's going to sound a lot different from Dr. Bob Guac. So get an intro camera, get an x-ray, get the stuff, review it with the practice owner and say, what do you think we should do here for Millie? So what I'd like to share with you guys is, at this point, what questions can I answer about what we reviewed so far? Or even better, put in the chat, what questions can I answer about what we reviewed so far? Or what's something you've learned so far from this chat? I see many of your would-be watchers with a graduation. That's great, at 2:30. Awesome, Jim, that we can do it. Get them on refund, get it on replay. So Natalie can give you a text on how to get that. So what have you learned so far? I see people in the crowd. You're here. I see you guys. You're in the crowd. So share something. What's one thing you've learned so far? Or one thing, question you would have. Natalie's sharing how you can get more of this. So let's now go through some questions, and we're here. Let's do some hand-raising questions. For the first year of a relationship, will a solo GP owner make more money or less money when the practice hires their first associate? So who votes that the practice will make more money in the first year after hiring their associate? Who votes for more? Who votes for less money? More or less? Who votes less money? This is why I can't wait to get back to in-person thing, because I'll call on people because I see in the crowd. I know people behind their Zooms say, I'm not raising my hand. So who thinks the practice will make less money after hiring an associate? Raise your hand for less money. If you silently raise your hand, the answer is less money is true. Yes, less money. Why? Because you are consuming all the pizza production. Thanks, Jim said the advice about confidence in having associates is really great. I'm glad to share that these tips. Just what you say is magic. So Jim reminded me to say again, practice owner, when someone's not sure about doing a night guard or crown or filling, something an associate can do, I would be glad to have my associate, don't say new associate, the associate we've added to the practice. We're so proud to have Dr. Natalie. I'd be glad to have her do this filling in my mouth. That's all you got to say. And you got to believe it though. So you got to make sure it's tough sometimes. Doesn't mean everything's going to go perfect. Just means you have to have confidence and trust in him. Practice owner may make less, the practice may make more. That's a really good point. The practice could go up in production, but down in profit for this first year. But after that, you may start to make more money. What is the cost? The cost is an assistant. The cost is the materials. The cost is the associate's salary. The cost is the FICA taxes. So there's a lot of costs. You just need to be aware to manage your own expectations that there's going to be a cost. Now, if you're sitting there as a practice owner, thanks so much for sharing that. Practice owner may make less, the practice may make more. Let's now go with this. We're in it. You can type it in. Maybe hand raising is not people's thing. Tell me if you think this is a good idea or bad idea. Just good idea or bad idea. Should your associate participate with insurance plans the practice owner does not take to get busier? So do you think that's a good idea for the associate to participate with insurance plans for the practice busier? Or raise your hand if you think it's a bad idea. In my experience, I've actually tested this. It's a bad idea. Here is why. In Philadelphia, my favorite nacho place is Alves. Okay, nachos there $16. Also a fan of Chipotle, nachos there $8. Also a fan of Taco Bell, I'll eat there sometimes, nachos there $4. If you notice, they do not sell a side of $4 Taco Bell nachos at Alves. They do not sell Chipotle nachos at Taco Bell. Alves does not have this $16 option at Taco Bell. It's confusing to a lot of people, especially the team. When Dr. Guac, the owner, charges $1,500 for a crown, and the associate accepts a plan, spoiled guac PPO, that pays $800. It's very confusing. I wouldn't do it. If you have a whole nother practice like Chipotle, great. To me, in my experience, offering a wide range of fees under the same roof causes confusion. And if you only have your associates see those patients and you don't, you create this weird tiered thing that I think is problematic and confusing. That's my experience there. So in my first associate, things to think about when hiring your first associate: where to find my first associate, what to ask during the interview process, how to pay my first associate, and the 5 questions, managing the expectations of your team before my first associate starts, welcoming my first associate, systems to share with my first associate, celebrating SOAs and managing off-script challenges. Will my first associate turn into a practice owner in another office, in your office or another office? So who here has seen the musical Rent? I should have looked this up before this. I'm going to look it up for my next presentation. So in Rent, they had the song like 500,000, 2,600, 600 minutes. I don't know what it is. That's a year. Give yourself a year without expectations. Don't say to someone, I definitely want you to buy in. Don't say to someone, I definitely don't want you to buy in. Give yourself a year. It's a long-term relationship. See how the first year goes before you make any giant plans. You may think you have the best associate, but a museum of fine art, I like that too. You may think you have the best associate, but you guys just don't get along behind the scenes in the best way. You may think you have somebody who's not so great, and you find out you really hit it off. Give yourself that year. These are all the steps that are involved in treatment planning my first associate. What to think about, where to find them, what to ask. What are the 5 magic questions? 5 magic questions are: where is the job? Where's the job? Why is the practice looking for an associate? What procedures will the associate do most of the time? How will the associate be compensated? And what fun things are there doing in the area? Where, why, what, how, fun. Now, for those of you watching in live, so this is going to be a recording that people can watch in on and going to give you extra resources as we go along. But if you're watching in live, you have this kind of cool opportunity to ask me any question. I hired multiple associates. We have Dentist Job Connect run by Jill, our director of Dentist Job Connect, who's placing associates. If you want to learn more about it, just text job to 215-543-6454 or text hire to 215-543-6454. But if you're sitting here watching, I see a question. Now is the time for you to ask me some questions. If it takes 3 to 5 years to transition associate, depending on how much pizza. So yeah, great insight here. So transitioning an associate and getting them enough production can be a 3 to 5 year process. Remember, having a licensed dentist in your practice to help you check hygiene, do other things is incredibly valuable. It's going to come at a cost. But listen, if you make $382,000 a year, you might enjoy making $320,000 a year and having another dentist to help you on vacations and share with. It has to be about your personality fit. Really good insight. If that was more of a question, feel free to type it again. But I see it says it takes 3 to 5 years for a transition associate, depending on how much pizza. Very true. Also, I'll just give you some metrics. Like if a solo GP doesn't have total collections of over $1 million, it's going to be very hard to add an associate as a need. If you have $700,000 a year in collections and you make $250 and you just want an associate and you want to give your associate 100 of your $250 because you're just stressed, that's totally cool. Want, need, okay? Car, boat, so key, really great there. What are some other questions I can answer for you guys? I want to see if there's any slides I want to share before this. What are some other questions I can answer for you guys about this process? Okay, so let's see, another question here. Would you recommend associating for a practice owner who happens to be a good friend? Excellent question. Thanks for asking. So I am someone who mixes business and relationships because I don't draw these lines. This happened to me how I was born, though. I practiced with my dad, which was amazing. He lived in the same house as me, right? And my brother too. My sister works with me with dental nachos. I don't draw these hard lines. It fits my personality, but it has to be your personality too. But remember, create scenarios for success. So let's say you want an associate let's say you were offered to be an associate with a good friend, get a year contract. Just do a year. Nothing that bad or good happens in a year. Watch this. This is one of my factors. If you're in a situation as a dentist on both ends, and you're very upset with what someone's doing, my associate is not doing something well, the practice owner is annoying me, ask these questions. Is what they're doing illegal? Yes or no? Is what they're doing immoral? Yes or no? Yes or no? Is what they're doing unsafe? Yes or no? If all of those are no, dial your drama down a little, okay? If it's not immoral, not unethical, not unsafe, those are worth the drama. Not sterilizing instruments, big deal. Insurance fraud, big deal. They're putting too much in my schedule and I have to work through lunch, medium deal. I got it. Talk to them, have a conversation. Uncomfortable conversations lead to growth. So my answer is, would you recommend associating for a practice owner who happens to be a good friend? My actual answer is yes, I do. I do, because it sounds like there's nothing that would prevent me from doing that. If it was a good scenario, good fit for me, friend or not, would put that into that. So if you want to tell me more about this scenario anonymously in the Q&A, I'd be glad to answer that. But I've come up with a video here. So I had kind of, we talked about failures. We had the awesome Lad and Duckett on. You can text CPA to 215-543-6454 to connect with them as key resource and sponsors. We had the awesome Jim Cashmere from Doctors Disability Specialists. They're amazing people and professionals. You can text DDS to 215-543-6454 to learn from them. I gave a free gift out in the beginning. I even named it after its name, free. You can text free to 215-543-6454. Get a free gift to hire an associate or not. But I want to end on a positive note. So when we go into the office, whether you own 20 practices, 2 practices, you're 2 months into dentistry, 20 years into dentistry, you want to do patient-centered, productive dentistry. Production that helps both the patient and the practice owner. So I'm going to play this video, which is packed with so many good tips. And at the end of this video, I'll stick around for a few more minutes for some questions. And if not, we would love for you to join us for any of our webinars coming up. We have some awesome ones. We also have the Dental Nachos Supreme, which is a membership club that allows you to watch live CNTV, 100+ hours of on-demand content. Now we can share with you of Ask Dr. Nacho Anything sessions. Supreme is a nacho brainer. It's only 2 numbers in the cost. It's worth like cost. So feel free to join us at the Dental Nachos Supreme. It's a great program. Text Supreme to 215-543-6454. But while we talk about, no matter where you are in the circle of dentistry life, practice owner, new dentist, dental student, this will help you produce more patient-centered dentistry. Please feel free to put any last-minute questions in before we wrap up in about 10 minutes.
5 ways in 5 minutes to produce more patient-centered dentistry. My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho, and I've been a dentist for 18 years and practice owner for 15 years. Producing more patient-centered dentistry that is also profitable helps everyone in the dental office. It helps your team. It helps the practice owner. It helps you as an associate, and most of all, it helps the patient. But producing more patient-centered dentistry is not easy, especially if you're a dental associate and you have not developed relationships with patients for years and team members for years. So I want to share with you some nacho tips for you to do this. Now, I know if you're a dentist or dental student, you're thinking, I got to write this down. I got to make sure I don't forget it. I would much rather you just listen and embrace what I am saying, and you are welcome to get access to this video by checking out our Dental Nachos YouTube page. That's one way. You can email salsa@dentalnachos.com for associate survival tips. Just put that in the email. Or you can text survival tips to 215-543-6454. Why am I showing you a dog park? 2 reasons. This is part of my dad and Dr. Nacho walk during the day. And everybody loves dogs, so I know it will engage you while I share with you these tips. Number 1 tip, everything that matters needs a system, and everything matters. Number 1 tip, everything that matters needs a system, from what you do, what you say, how you act, and conduct yourself as a dentisting human. My best Nacho advice is for you to systemize your clinical procedures for maximum efficiency. The book, The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande, is a great start to that. Develop checklists, 7 to 10 points for every single procedure that you can share with your assistant so you're efficient. Stay on time. People will judge you if you stay on time or not, never more so as a new dental associate in a practice. You always want to do a good job, but oftentimes running behind is due to lack of systems on the part of the associate. Number 2 tip, connect with the office manager. Connect with the office manager and front desk team. What this means is get to know what they say to patients about financial arrangements and help develop your own systems. Oftentimes, associates are paid on percentage of collections. It is up to you to help make this system work by managing your patient expectations. So number 1, everything that matters needs a system. 2, connect with the office manager. 3, work on your words, work on your communication, work on what you say, how you say it, and how you connect with people, how to talk to patients like people, and more nacho magic will happen. A good tip for this is to take C on the topic. Read books, watch the video How to Speak by Patrick Winston, and join virtual Toastmasters. So we have everything that matters needs a system. Connect with the office manager. Work on your words. Number 4, offer to do as many hygiene checks as possible. If you're working in a practice with an exhausted owner like me or my brother, say, hey, if there's any hygiene checks you need me to do, I want to do them. I want to get to know the patients and the hygienist. That is such a valuable skill. The practice owner may not want you to do certain checks on patients for what's the word for them, or super high maintenance, and may cause you to want to cry inside, but offering that to a practice owner is gold. And number 5, tip in 5 minutes to producing more patient-centered dentistry is the best tip I can give to any dentist. Develop a menu of treatment options that you can explain well. Work really hard on this menu and kindly don't care what the patient chooses. Work hard on your menu. Call it a menu. Share the menu. We have an amazing course on this. Just text menu to 215-543-6454 and you will see me sharing a
Okay, so that wraps up failure prevention tips for my first associate. This is designed to make things a little bit better for you. This is designed to give you actionable takeaways to start this process. There's so much more information that you need to succeed. My mother always told me, bring a gift wherever you go. So here's my gift to you. Just text free to this number. Your phone won't explode and you're going to get to hire an associate or not. An amazing on-demand course, totally free for you to learn, earn CA, whether you're looking for a job, looking to hire an associate, selling your practice, it's going to help. If for some reason you don't like the text, just email free to jobconnect@dentalnachos.com. This is my favorite thing to do, speak and share with dentists. I hope we get to do more of this in person. We have some great in-person stuff coming up this summer. I really appreciate you being here. Really appreciate the time that you took. I really appreciate Jim and Bill sharing some awesome